Welcome to the Final Score Network and the Final Score Podcast, presented by Team Anders Realtors. I'm Andy. He's former NCAA student athlete and co-host.
Ryan, Cam, two-hand monster flush off the inbound. Ryan, Cam, slam, jam. Oh boy.
Find the TFS pod and our playlists wherever you stream your podcast or music. Follow us on X at TheFinalScore35. Oh, and one more note before we get started.
I'd like to apologize to anyone I've not offended yet. Please be patient. I'll get to you shortly.
Welcome into the 204th edition of the TFS pod. Back at it again, 1 week away from Christmas. We've got college football playoff on Friday, basketball, we're rolling heavy, NFL, 3 weeks left of the regular season. It's the most wonderful time of year. Without further ado, I will take the podium, and I'm going to talk about what we've talked about for so many times, broken record, but it's striking again at this time because of the bowl season and the portal, all that stuff, and the NCAA needs to step aside, and there needs to be a governing body for college football, and it has never been more evident because the transfer portal opened before bowl games started, and there's guys opting out, all this stuff you've probably seen in the news. Penn State doesn't have their backup quarterback. Teams don't have a quarterback. Guys that are in the portal are playing in games. There's coaches leaving left and right because they have to be. These guys have to enter the portal to be able to enroll in the winter. That's why the portal window is so early. And it's just a mess. Guys leaving left and right. Bear Alexander, if you know the name, he started at Georgia, left the team, transferred to USC, left the team. There's a picture of him on Twitter. He's wearing a Penn State jersey. He has a USC picture in his bio, and he has a Georgia Bulldogs tattoo on his bicep. If that doesn't tell you the world we live in college sports, nothing else will. It is absolutely ridiculous. The NCAA is spineless, which you will talk about, I know, in your podium, but they suck at their job. They haven't done anything. They don't provide any use for Division I athletics, and maybe for the non-revenue sports. Sure. But do we need them for basketball? No. Do we need them for football? No. Hockey's not. Is it NCAA? It is now. Mm-hmm. They could probably have their own governing body too. Mm-hmm. The three main sports should.
Didn't Ohio State's two backup quarterbacks hit the portal too?
But they're still playing, and the one's not, and then Devin Brown's still on the team. Like, how does that work?
Possible if you're in the portal though?
There's a bunch of guys doing it.
I guess, but
a bunch of guys doing it.
Yeah, Ryan's right. My podium, just shy of our 4-year anniversary of our very first podcast. Basically, I'll say it in 3 words: flush the NCAA. For reasons Ryan said, reasons we've talked a lot about here. I've got really kind of like three main things, and I've got some ideas to fix it. I mean, obviously NIL, that's a complete shit show. It's out of control, and the NCAA did nothing for so long when they were getting sued by Ed O'Bannon over NCAA basketball cover and all that kind of stuff. And they sat on it, and then they let it go to the politicians, which we know is the end of everything when it goes to the politicians. They can't do anything right. So, so you got that. You got the portal, which, as Ryan just said in his, is just a mess. Like the kid from Penn State, no doubt, wants to stay with his team.
But he has to be.
Maybe even if it's for self-serving reasons. But he has to go, and Chris has some questions for this, so we'll get to that in a little bit. And then this was kind of like the most recent coup de grace for me, is the president of the NCAA testifying at Congress about, I think, something different, honestly, but they asked him about his stance on transgenders and whatever. And one of the asinine things he said, first he said that biological men posing as women have no physical advantage, that he walked that back a little bit. But he basically said, and I'm not going to say and quote because I don't have the quote exactly in front of me, but more or less his quote was, if you have a problem with a transgender being in a women's bathroom, then go find another bathroom to change in. Not the transgender, the women. I've got a million problems with that. That guy should have had a missile strapped to his ass cheeks and been fired to Mars immediately after that. He should have been already. the fact that you are not creating a safe space for women, and I speak as a father of a former NCAA athlete, female athlete, if I had known that, I would have absolutely gone ballistic. And I think what needs to happen is, these women are making movements, teams that step down and forfeited, like in the Mountain West tournament and things like that, and in several cases of that in the volleyball. Unfortunately, a stand has to be made, and it's to the cost of the girls, the young women playing the sport. Like, they're having to give up their dreams and their hopes to make a stand, and it should never be that way. I just hope and pray that when Trump takes office, and the funny thing is all these moronic people on TikTok and whatever, like, what's Trump done since he took office? Nothing. Morons. He doesn't take office until he's inaugurated in January. Buy a U.S. history lesson. Anyway, I just, like, the fact that this guy is defending still trannies playing women's sports. Even the PGA, LPGA, Royal, whatever they call themselves, Royal and Ancient, overseas, they're all agreeing that, unless you took puberty blockers and didn't go through any puberty and then can consistently test with a low testosterone even after that, you can't play. You can't say you're a woman and play. That's how it should be. If you want to be in one of these blue states, these a-hole states that are ban the police and all this other stuff and let trainees have their own league, knock yourself out. I do not want them playing with my daughter. I don't want them playing with anybody else's daughter. I don't want them to play with any women. It's ridiculous. And the fact that somebody would stand up to that and people would defend him, that guy shouldn't have a job anymore. And that's the problem, is the NCAA needs to be flushed. It is absolutely 110% worthless. They don't negotiate TV contracts. The leagues do. They don't do squat. The NCAA tournament, they want to mess with that and make that 72 or 76 teams now all of a sudden. Why? Because the NCAA needs more money. No, don't do it. Here's the solution. You break off CFP and you call it the CFP series or the CFP association or something like that. And that's college football playoff eligible programs. I still go back to my days. I have my plan that I've said on the podcast several times of shrinking that down to more like 64 teams, maybe like 72 max. And then what you do is you take the rest of those, the Central Michigans, the Middle Tennessee States, the Sam Houston States, the teams playing in these low bowl games now, keep some of those if you want, that's fine. Put them in what is now called, what's now called FCS, but call that the new Division One. Okay, so you've got CFPA or whatever you want to call it, and then you've got the Division One, which is the rest, plus all the quote FCS schools. So you've got CFP has its own commissioner, is run its own way, it's its own entity. Division One football, same thing, its own thing. And then Division Two football, its own thing. Division Two sports, and Division Three sports, their own thing. No more NCAA. Hell, combine the NAIA in there too. Figure out a way to combine them in there. Then in that case, if you want like Division One for all other sports, basketball included, can include all those massive schools, right? Like it can be all the FCS, it can be all the lower level D1 and what have you, kind of like it is today, the 300 plus teams. I've got no problem with that part. So let that Division One, whatever league you want to call it, no more the NCAA control all of that, from hoops down to gymnastics, down to softball, pickleball, esports, whatever you want. Knock yourself out. Totally separate entity for D2, totally separate entity for D3. Treat them all individually how they should be treated because they're all unique. D3 doesn't get athletic scholarships. Treat that uniquely. Find a way to entice people to play D3 to be student athletes because we need students. We need smart people in this world because there's a lot of dumb people coming up in this world, and that's a problem. At D3, you're probably going to at least get an education because you're not going to school you're going to school to play school, not going to school to be an NFL, NBA, whatever athlete. I just think the first order of business is you absolutely get rid of the NCAA president as is right now, lock, stock, and barrel, over nothing else, over none of his other idiocy, for what he said in front of Congress about, women can fend for themselves, basically. and then figure out the rest of it. It can be done. It should be done. The problem is people don't want to give up their power to let it be done, and that's the problem.
Yep, exactly. All right, let's get to flag. I think maybe in a couple weeks, I think it'll change over to a tee-up. But our flag this week.
Flag's pretty obvious. It's everybody, myself included. On the podcast, I got on the Caitlin Clark bandwagon a lot and talked and defended her when it came to the way that the African American players were treating her and nobody standing up for her. Well, it turns out, guess what? She's just another liberal in sheep's clothing. She just didn't want to admit it because she needed to get all her payday. And instead, she wants to go and say that she has white privilege and it's all the other people who made the WNBA. Caitlin, let me give you a little history lesson. If not for the NBA, which is sucking hind tit in a major way right now, the WNBA wouldn't exist. You're not making your revenue based on your fan that shows up for the games. And yes, you rose fandom, but the amount of people I've read, heard, seen that are ditching you and their all of a sudden their followership of WNBA is gone because you made such a stupid, ignorant comment. There is not such a thing. I'm sorry. I've got a friend in particular who told me that I had it before. I think you're all full of shit because I'm not some slave owner. We don't have white privilege. Caitlin Clark doesn't have white privilege. What does she have because she's white? Nothing. She has good basketball skills. That doesn't matter if you're black, white, brown, red, yellow, a mix. It doesn't matter. That's asinine. It's stupid. And that kind of stuff continues to set it back and is why athletes should keep their mouth out of politics and political type of stuff. Yeah. Just an absolute... just such a misstep that's actually going to end up costing the WNBA, and I find it hilarious. And forget about me raving and ranting over your great play anymore. You lost a semi-fan if you had that, even that. If, there was a chance that I was going to stop on a WNBA game before, sure as hell ain't going to happen now.
No, not at all. All right, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. We got around the world, and I can read it this time. First Down is presented by Norris Sports Group. NSG is a boutique agency of experts with 30-plus years of experience in sports sponsorships and much more. Learn more about them today at norrissportsgroup.com. They're the best in the business. I have seen their work from afar and also worked with them. It is a phenomenal company. All right, spot one. Not first down. I just pulled a U because I read the ad.
Yeah.
College football and portal, we'll just touch on this quick. There have been a few bowl games so far, one going on right now. James Madison winning by 7 as we speak with the ball. 2 minutes to go over Western Kentucky.
Hats off to Navy for a phenomenal game plan
awesome.
Against Army.
They played awesome. Their quarterback was a stud. I can't remember his name. The dude's good. Great season for Army, though. They're 11-2. They're going to have a chance to probably get to 12-2. Which is
almost lost their bowl game because of what you talked about, the transfer portal. Marshall rosters completely wiped out.
Tech playing
as their coach left. Yep.
First bowl game that we talked was the IS4 salute to Veterans Bowl. South Alabama beat Western in that one.
Did you hear what the ref would do before he would call penalties?
Salute. That's
which
really
is
cool.
awesome.
Then last night, the Frisco Bowl, Memphis, West Virginia, 42-37, barn burner. West Virginia's got Rich Rods as their coach now. That's pretty funny.
Speaking of saluting, shame on CBS, who shows Taylor Swift ad nauseum, who's the spawn of Satan, but showed Donald Trump and J.D. Vance for all of about 5 seconds during the Army-Navy game. When did Joe Biden ever go to an Army-Navy game?
Never. Shocking. Yeah, those are the bowl games that have happened so far. There's more going on. We're going to do picks in Spot 5.
Playoffs start tomorrow?
Playoff Friday.
Sorry. I think it's Thursday.
It's going to be a big weekend. We will hit those games for sure. Just portal at large. It's been pretty active so far. Michigan State, 6 commits already. More to come. A couple offensive linemen there, nice pieces. A running back, corner, a couple receivers. Like what they've done so far. Definitely think they need to get a couple more offensive linemen and defensive linemen, and I think that you fill these pieces, you make your O-line okay, you might have a chance at a decent season next year with the schedule that was released. But yeah, I like what they've done.
I like
so
this
far.
wide receiver from Kent State. I mean, from
He's
seeing
kind of
his
like
film.
a Jaden Reed type, very fast,
Mm-hmm.
good route runner, all that good stuff.
And somebody asked me the other day at work, like, what do I think about what I've seen in the portal? And, I do think it's a little bit hard to gauge, but I will say this, like, people go crazy when the big name guys transfer to big name schools. I contend, for the most part, not all the time, I said this to Ryan too the other day, I contend that if you transfer big to big, you weren't good enough to play at the one big, so you're just like delaying the inevitable, which is the fact that maybe you're not as good as you think you are. Now, that's not always the case. Sometimes guys go to follow coaches and, like Childs and Belling and things like, guys like that. Obviously, they went from Power 5 to Power 5, and it happens. But I look at, for my proof in that, the amount of big-time recruits Michigan State has had over the last 5 to 7 years that have transferred and have gone down. Like the best that they went was like Memphis, or they went to the MAC or whatever. Yeah. And you see so often, and you see it in basketball too, the Tyson Walkers from Northeastern, or the guys from, smaller schools like Zapawa, the way he's playing, guys like that it transfers up because they've developed those skills. Maybe they were a late bloomer. Like I watched that Kent State guy's film. I mean, like that guy pops off the film, and I'm not a film expert by any stretch, but his athleticism, his route running, and that just pops off the page to me, or off the screen to me. That's probably a guy who was overlooked because he was just a little bit of a late bloomer. Maybe he developed a little bit with a good coaching staff at Kent State. So, I'm not going to be one who, I see in Bleacher Report, the fake Michigan State fans are always in there. Oh, Michigan, get rid of Jonathan Smith. He doesn't know what he's doing because he's getting guys from Texas State. I'm not going to make that judgment because I believe that the coaches know what they want. And here's the other telling thing is how many guys that Jonathan Smith has either recruited so far or have got in a transfer have left. His guys haven't left.
One guy because of being homesick and a family illness. That's
right.
It.
The rest of the guys have been Tucker guys. So, remains to be seen. Michigan State needs a pass rusher. They need some more D-line depth. I think they need some more defensive backs. They definitely need some more offensive linemen. They probably could stand to go get another backup veteran quarterback. I mean, they're developing some young guys too, but
that'd be good for them.
Probably wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. So I like what I see. Michigan State's filling positions of need, and they're doing it with athletic guys, and that's what Michigan State needs to do is get more athletic.
Yep, build that depth. I like what they've done so far. I think they're going to get more good guys. I do. And probably not done in the high school ranks yet either. Probably get a couple more guys in the February window. Portal at large, I mean, no massive names. I mean, there's some good players. USC's lost some key guys that were highly rated recruits. Some quarterbacks here and there have left. But, there's not been any earth-shattering names yet that have left. Still early, obviously. I think 10 or 11 more days of the portal being open, so you never know what happens. But yeah, not too crazy. Some coaching changes. Washington State coach Jake Dickert is going to Wake Forest. Their coach, whose name escapes me, Clausen, he resigned because he just couldn't do it anymore. You're going to see that more and more, I think. Mm-hmm. He's going there. Washington State kind of left high and dry. They've lost a ton of guys to the portal, and they're going to lose him. So that's tough. No one else really yet. Ryan Day, I would think if they lose his ass might be grass. No one else really. What if Penn State got smoked? Would they get rid of Franklin? They're not going to.
He hasn't won one big game ever. So
yeah, he's never won anything. But I don't think I have.
But hey, would we complain if we were winning 9-10 games a year and competing for now the playoff all the time?
No,
probably not.
But that's not Michigan State historically, and that's been Penn State for however many years.
True.
All right, that's spot one. We move to spot two, mailbag. By Chris and Mitch-a-palooza.
Yeah, Chris-a-palooza high-teching it gets me a shared note via the iPhone so that I can check off his questions on the list. He's got some good ones, and he's got several questions. Kind of a record high for Chris. All right, so number one. will conferences start trying to give their, quote, blue blood programs and, quote, easier conference schedule to guarantee playoff bursts? So
Probably.
in essence,
Bama.
aside from Ohio State playing Michigan, maybe they don't play Penn State and USC and whatever. And Bama maybe doesn't play Georgia and whatever. They just like, I mean, I never really considered it. I suppose I could see it. Boy, that's a really good question. Let's hope not. I mean, I think if what happens, like what Ryan and I talked about in CFPA or whatever you want to call it, creates its own thing, I think then that will probably start to fix it. I think if they put in some of the other fixes, the way they, get conferences back to the right size and divisions and whatever, take on a little bit more of the NFL model, I don't think we'll have to go there, to be honest. But in the short term, if they don't make some fixes, it wouldn't surprise me if they kind of, in a clandestine way, did that.
Yeah, I could see that happening. But who knows? I mean, I think they would subtly do it.
I don't think it would be like crystal clear that, oh, look at the cupcake schedule that Bama has. Right. All right, this is an interesting one. In the wake of the Lions having a couple of onside kicks the other day, Chris says the onside kick is essentially dead, which is true. I think there have been 3 successful.
Because you have to call it first and foremost.
Yeah, especially in the NFL.
Surprise.
How would you fix it? This is how Chris would fix it. So I'm going to give you how he would fix it. Then I'm going to ask you, Ryan, how you would fix it. Chris says, I would give the team a 4th and 10 from their own 35, so where they kick it. If they don't get it, the opponent gets the ball wherever they are stopped. I said 10 because I want the run to still be a viable option. Maybe you have to play the 4th down with your normal kickoff special teams unit. Now that would be interesting. Both offense and defense. This would force teams to put a quarterback on their kickoff team and think about who's on the return team, and might make regular kickoffs more interesting.
Yeah, that's actually
really intriguing, Chris, and really, really well thought out, because I don't have the brain space to go that far, but I don't have as much windshield time as you do either. I do think that they've got this whole notion of, you gotta declare it, and they changed the kickoff in the NFL to make it more dynamic, but also to continue, I think, to keep players safe. But what's really happening is more guys are getting hurt, especially kickers. I think I would never want to see the onside kick itself go away, because I think it's such an art. And honestly, to tell you the truth, I thought Jake Bates for the Lions kicked 2 great onside kicks.
Were very good.
He had one that took the right big hop at the right time. Buffalo just happened to make a really good play on it, but the Lions had a chance with that one. And the other one where he did the misdirection kick, if a Lions player's knee doesn't inadvertently hit it back in, it knocked it off. The Bills player touched it and fumbled it forward, but the Lions player's knee hit it right back into his chest, so he was able to recover it. So, I would hate to see it gotten rid of. Honestly, if they're going to keep all this gimmick stuff on kicking, they should, in my opinion, just put the ball to 25, period. But yeah, I think something needs to be done. Kind of what you described is definitely an interesting and intriguing approach. It's kind of like the way college overtime works in a way. Yeah. I really, especially the idea of you got to have your onside kick team as the team that gets the 4th and 10 could be super interesting. It got to be something better. I mean, I don't know. If you really want to get safety, then kick it from the 50 and just always have a touchback, basically. But then at least you have the element of surprise if you kick it from the 50 and you want to do an onside kick, or kick it from the 40, or kick it from the 40, or kick it from something like that. I think something's got to be done, because I think the element of it, especially still, like, you think of the Lions when they were kind of on their way back, building themselves up.
Yeah, they did that against the Rams.
Would do it. Yeah, they would do it just as a middle of the game trick, and that's brilliant. But you can't do it anymore because the team knows it's coming. Mm-hmm. And it's just a matter of executing. So, all right, you have any other?
No, that's all good
thoughts
stuff
on that one. All right, let's see. Next one, we'll check these bad boys off the list. So check. All right, Chris wants us to grade each MSU football position group as either improved, neutral, or regressed.
Well,
quarterback,
I think it's improved.
Oh, and from last year? Hell yeah, it was improved.
Getting much worse.
Yeah.
Running back, nah.
Neutral.
about the same. Receivers, meh.
Neutral. I mean, obviously Marsh is a step up because what did Michigan State have the year before?
That's it.
Yeah, so I would say probably neutral. Some good, some not so
Tight
good.
ends, meh. Haven't been good.
Tight ends, maybe in a way. I mean, I'm going to say regressed only not because I don't think that we got better at tight end, but I think we still didn't use the tight. I don't think we used Velling as much as I think we were all sold that we were going to. So I would say in a way regressed. Talent wise, I think we certainly improved, but I think regressed.
Offensive line, was it worse or was it the same? I mean, it's like comparing a 1920 car to a
one rotted grape to another.
Yeah,
I mean,
sick.
Yeah, I mean, I guess given how bad they were a year ago, you got to go neutral. Like Michigan State was able to do more. Part of that's because they had a more dynamic quarterback.
D-line worse.
D tackles, I would say probably neutral. D ends regressed for sure.
Yeah, linebackers.
Linebackers. I would say. I mean, I thought Jordan Turner was really good.
Yeah, he's solid.
You know, and I thought, you know, what's his name? Hall, is it Hall? Or am I? Jordan Hall.
Yeah.
Like he made nice improvements as a sophomore. I'll say that they probably improved a little bit, except for Ryan's boy Halliday. He's definitely regressed. He regressed every year. Cornerbacks, I think, early in the year improved, and then when the injury bug hit, they regressed. But I don't think that's kind of an incomplete to me because I think it's just hard, right? You had guys that you did not intend to have that kind of snaps that were playing, and same at safety. I mean, I think Michigan State had some good play at safety early, and then when they started to get injured and their backups were basically walk-ons or true freshmen, you know, so that's kind of an incomplete. Kicking, I think, you know, Kim was good anyway, so I would say probably neutral, which is not necessarily... That's not a knock on him, and same with punter, like neutral. He was already one of the best punters, and he was just as good this year. So return game, though, regressed. I think the return game, Michigan State's return game has just been non-existent for really, well, Jaden Reed gave it a shot in the arm, but at least from the punt return game he did. So, all right, so that's that one. Next, Chris question, 5 Michigan State basketball players who are playing the best right now and how you would adjust lineups for those 5. Position doesn't matter. It can be 5 guards or 5 centers if that's who's best.
I'm going to say Richardson.
Mm-hmm.
Booker.
Yep.
Zapawa. Kohler. And say...
I think you got to say Akins.
Akins, yeah, he's played pretty.
I mean, I think they were the 5 that played the best last night. I mean, I think Michigan State's. We'll talk a little bit more of this in basketball, but I think Michigan State's depth is really solid and true, and I think they've got guys that can step up at different times and different nights. I really do like the trajectory Booker's been on since the North Carolina game. I think we're finally kind of starting to see the light go off, and that he really does and can make a difference. I will tell you what I would do. I think they need to find a way against certain lineups to get Fiddler a little bit more run. Like, I don't think he played a ton last night. Maybe that wasn't necessarily the style, but I think if Michigan State maybe is facing a little bit of a smaller team, or sometimes maybe you should try to force the other team's hand by going small. I like him because from the free throw line extended, and getting to the free throw line, he's pretty much money. And he gives you a little bit of that mid-range. So then teams have to kind of guard that. And if he can kick it out and you're starting to hit the 3 more like Michigan State is, you got guys that can hit the 3. And then you've got guys that can break it down inside. So that's one thing I would probably like to see is less of this. This is my 5. I'm going to roll with them no matter what the matchups are. I think because of the quality of depth Izzo has, he needs to consider rolling out different lineups that match. And I get it, there's a psyche thing to it. Ryan, you could speak more to this as a former player, but like if it's a matchup that works, like, and you're already playing 10 guys 12 plus minutes a game, what's the difference? Right. So whether you start, like Booker's not been starting, but he's been playing virtually starter minutes and he's been contributing. So what if he doesn't start? Right. So that's something that I would kind of like to see. I don't know if you have anything else on that one.
So good.
All right, this is a fun one. We kind of talked about this, I think, last week on the pod. If you had to wear a T-shirt with your most used golf phrase, what would it say? I know what you would say. Mine would say
Rockefeller. Or...
No, what is it? What do I always say to you that you get pissed at me?
Oh, boom. I hate that.
Premature congratulations, which I don't do on purpose, but
I don't know what would mine say?
I suck.
Yeah. How does that happen?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a slew of them. Prom date, Rockefeller, boom, definitely is one I pull with Ryan and other people too. But again, that's not because I'm trying to wish it away, but that went Value Jet. That still is one of my very favorites. So those probably pretty much cover our typicals. Okay, this is an NSF question with Mana listening, probably, but would you rather make out with Paige Spiranak or play around with Tiger Woods? If you don't know who she is except for you, Mom, look her up and you'll know why Chris asked the question. She's a golf influencer.
I'd probably just say Tiger Woods. That's a tough
if I was single, Paige, but yeah, since I'm happily married, I would say play around with Tiger Woods. But Chris, that is a great curveball question. I did not pre-read them, so that definitely threw me for a loop. I love that. All right, last Chris question of the pod. Does the December transfer portal go away in 2025?
Not a chance.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think they'll do it.
Chris says every talking head and even athletes are complaining about the insanity, so it'll definitely go away eventually, but can NCAA make a rapid change to dump it? The problem is the NCAA is worthless, like I said, and they should be flushed. Look, here's my answer. I sure hope so, but I have zero faith in the NCAA to do anything right. They can't even get right the fact that women are different than men, whether a man says he's a woman or not. So there's where my faith in the NCAA relies.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Chris.
Loved the one note or the note too. That was a great way to do it because then I can just check them off the list. So he was sending some of those questions today because that's what I can tell too is when he sends them. So good stuff.
Let's go Mitch-a-palooza. Mitch-a-palooza. Questions from he was in Dayton. He was at the Dayton game last night actually.
Nice.
In area for work and he went to that game.
Flyers.
4 questions from Mitch. Number 1, if I told you the Lions would make the NFC Championship game after all this injury news, would you take it? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Look, I'm with Campbell, right? Like, we still, I sent you a TikTok today, right, or a video of him in his press conference. He's like, we still have the pen. We're still writing it. Like, yeah, there's some key guys out, no doubt about it. But here's the way that I look at it. I said this to you, Ryan. I said this to Chris this week in text, too. Look at the Lions compared to the 49ers and maybe to a little bit of a lesser extent the Cowboys because I don't think their roster was quite as good. But where are the Cowboys and the 49ers compared to the Lions when the Lions have actually arguably had probably more big player injuries than either of those two teams? The Lions are 12-2 and still have home field and a bye at their fingertips.
Yeah, you just got to win out.
You win out.
You control your own destiny.
With 2 winnable road games, and Minnesota's been playing well, but a winnable home game to close the season. And regardless, they're in the playoffs, and that's what you want to do is just get in the playoffs. And I love how Campbell said, "Hey, if we got to beat somebody 72-71, fine. If we got to beat somebody 3-2, fine. We're going to do what we need to do." I think guys step up. I think this is a business. There's guys that have been chomping at the bit. The Lions are going to get some players back. Injuries happen. Is it unfortunate that they don't have their full roster? Yes, because I firmly believe, even though obviously there's a little bit of luck in the game and so on and so forth, but if they had Hutch and if they had McNeil and if they had Davis and if they had Monty and they, had all these guys healthy, they are unquestionably the most talented team, more talented than the Chiefs, more talented than the Bills. They're more talented than anybody. But the reality is they got guys that are hurt. So next man up, and we'll see. But yeah, to your point, Mitch, I would definitely take that.
Yeah. Does Michigan State finish the regular season with more than 10 losses? I'm going to say no, because I think they win the next 2, and I think they go 13-7 or better.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the 12-8. Yeah, regular season, you're talking?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think unless they really hit the skids or something really crazy happens. I can see Michigan State easily going 12-8. And look, I think 15-5 wins the Big Ten outright this year.
I think 14-6 might. It's
Yep.
It's going to be a lot of carnage. So, number 3, who would you rather put on next year's MSU football roster, Shalik Calhoun or B.J. Cunningham? Shalik Calhoun, because Michigan State has not had a good defensive end in a few years.
That's a really good question. Both, like B.J. Cunningham was an example of a guy who stayed and got better all the time.
He was very good. Definition of consistency.
He was a favorite target of Cousins, but I think Michigan State's got enough at wide receiver. I agree. They need a game changer, a turnover maker, a sack guy. I would go for a Calhoun for sure.
Yep, and then last one, does Jared Goff throw over 9 touchdowns the rest of the regular season? I think he does, with Monty going down and the defense being as injured as it is. Yeah, I think he's going to throw 3 touchdowns in each game. I think he can do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think he can definitely do it. He had lost in the fact that they lost that game. He was nearly flawless. And that was even with Amon-Ra, who had a great game, his flu game, because he was sick. He dropped a couple passes he doesn't usually drop, even a couple of tough ones that were in tough spots that the Lions probably could have used the score. When the game was a little bit earlier and before it started to get away from him a little bit. But yeah, Goff's dialed right now. And I think obviously he's got 2 outdoor games coming up. Niners, you never know what you're going to get outside, but they're really dinged up. I think he definitely can do it against them. The Bears at Chicago, obviously, it's probably going to be cold this weekend. Maybe snowy. Who knows? Maybe not there, but, Minnesota game. Yeah, I could see it. I could see 9.
Yep. Agreed. That's Mitch-a-palooza and mailbag this week.
Love it, Mitch. Love it, Chris. Great stuff. Great questions.
Hit the Anders ad, then we'll rip on college basketball.
Yeah, now a word from our presenting sponsor, Team Anders Realty, will help you find the home that fits your wants and needs, and they make the process simple and fun along the way. The Anders have served thousands of clients for 30-plus years in the West Michigan area and are here to serve you today. Learn more at teamanders.com.
All right, we'll start with Michigan State. Since we last spoke, they've only played 1 game. It was last night at the Little Caesars Arena.
Rough first half.
Rusty first half, picked up in the second half, played better. Lots to like about Michigan State right now. Jackson Kohler playing really well. Zapala. There's not many.
Do not play Cooper unless it's scrub time.
He's terrible.
He's terrible.
Everything else, I'm happy with Michigan State about playing good defense, rebounding well. They're shooting it a little better.
What did you say, Ryan? You'd rather have Pete Colby Woolman than Cooper?
I'd way rather have him. But yeah, Michigan State's playing well. Hopefully they can continue. FAU, tougher game on Saturday, but take care of that. Then they play Western, who's not very good. But yeah, I like where Michigan State's going. Like the way they play. Been good.
I think lately they've had a lot of balance. I mean, that's the potential with this lineup. And I'll tell you, early in the beginning of the season, Kohler would have been my pinpoint
whipping
boy. And man, he started last night. He had a block, a steal, a bucket, an assist, a rebound, like in the first couple of possessions of the game. I mean, he's just playing with a motor. When he gets to the line, he's finishing. He's got to be 80+% free throw shooter. He's at least a threat to shoot the 3. Ryan, you made a good comp. Like, can he be Joey Hauser? Like, if he continues to be able to get a little bit more of a stretch game, the thing is I think he's got a way better post game than Joey Hauser did. Joey was a little bit more of a perimeter guy. If he can just mix in a little bit of it, just to keep him, keep it dangerous, but like, he's a guy pound for pound that uses his footwork and limited athleticism, I would say, better than anybody that I've seen with a similar type of game.
Yeah, I agree. That's Michigan State. Around college basketball, some good games last week. Drake's playing well. They won last night. They're one of the few undefeateds left. Iowa State beat Iowa.
They signed their coach to an extension.
Yep. He's had a nice job there. Indiana got smacked by Nebraska. Indiana just not a very good team at all. I think they're a waste. Woodson, I would not be shocked if he does not make it to next year. I don't know. That's going to be tough. It depends on how they do the rest of the way, but whatever.
I just can't believe for the life of me that they don't have a couple of dead-eye shooters. The fact that with Indiana basketball being like the mecca for high school basketball still, that they still can't get a Steve Alford type and a Damon Bailey type, a guy that can just flat out shoot the rock. They got some bigs, they've got some decent, they've got some players, but the fact that they don't have guys that can, and I'm not talking stretch the floor, I'm talking just bang threes from distance. Like, what was his name? Hull? Remember him? Jordan Hulls. Man, they've had some guys over the years that could just freaking shoot the rock, and they haven't had that in forever.
Yeah, they haven't. Illinois lost a close one to Tennessee at the buzzer. Ohio State lost by, 38 to Auburn. Kentucky's had a nice start to the year. Gonzaga played UConn. That was a good game. UConn won that. Florida, they're looking really good so far. Purdue's already got as many losses as they did last year. That's kind of crazy. Memphis, that continues to be a good loss for Michigan State. They're a nice squad. UCLA, been pretty good. Arizona, really disappointing.
Arizona's kind of like where we were last year.
Yeah, very similar, I was going to say. A surprise team for me that I think could make some noise in the Big Ten, Penn State. I think they're well coached, and they've got some really good athletes. Ace Baldwin, really nice point guard.
I saw the other. It was just it was like a Bleacher Report poll or whatever, and so obviously it was just 3 or 4 teams. But like the overwhelming answer was that Michigan would win the Big Ten.
I mean, Michigan's got some nice pieces, but they don't play defense. They don't rebound. That's going to cost them games when they aren't scoring.
Right.
I mean, I think they'll make the tournament, but I don't think they're going to be.
Yeah, Dusty May is a good coach. Well, like you said, will Indiana sell the farm to get him, and would he leave Michigan?
Wouldn't surprise me if they tried to. I don't know if he would leave, but we shall see. Northwestern, they're also a decent team that I think could punch above their weight a little bit.
Illinois is kind of that they could
teeter-totter. We got some that Jack Jonas or whatever his name is. He is a stud point guard, 6'6" from Europe. Really nice player. I don't think really anything else college basketball has been fun so far. Big week. It was a Saturday. Felt like a March weekend. This weekend's going to be similar with a lot of really good games. So looking forward to that. We can move on to NFL here. What an interesting week it was. Rams and 49ers, no touchdowns scored. 12-6.
After the Rams had scored, 44 the week before?
Just not good.
And the Rams are now in first place in the West.
Yeah, that's not a team I'd want to play in the playoffs.
Not
at all. I don't think any of the NFC West teams. The Lions still have to play the Niners. They're in quit mode almost, I would say. It's been a tough season for them with injuries, and they just haven't performed.
Well, and they're the linebacker who walked off the field said he didn't want to play.
Good for them for just suspending him, say you're not releasing him, so he can't play anywhere else.
Right.
Good on them. Chiefs continue to slide by. Mahomes hurt his ankle. They're the only team, I learned today, only team in the NFL that has not scored 30 points in a game this season, aside from the Raiders and the Titans. So that's not great company. Mahomes hurt his ankle, though.
He's practicing, so he says he's going to play, but
who knows? Bengals keep their season alive. Whatever. Commanders, they have not looked the same in the last month. They haven't played as well, but they still got a win. A win's a win. Ravens embarrassed the Giants. Giants on their way to fight the Raiders for the number 1 overall pick. Cowboys smoked the Panthers. The Panthers were playing decent. And now the Cowboys 6-8. They still have an outside shot at the playoffs. Not going to happen, but keeping it alive. Jets finally win. First time since October. Yeah, they suck.
Only 3 NFC teams have been eliminated.
Yeah. Texans beat the Dolphins. Dolphins just have not been great. Broncos beat the Colts. Anthony Richardson's pretty terrible. Jonathan Taylor fumbled on the inch line
because
the end zone.
Because he walked it in and dropped it, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Idiot. Eagles beat the Steelers pretty good. The Eagles are playing really good football. They've kind of woken up a little bit. Cardinals beat the Patriots. Patriots they're not good. Bucks smoked the Chargers on the road. They're also playing really good football. I did not see that one coming. Packers smoked the Seahawks. Geno hurt, but they think he'll be back this week. Might have just dinged up his knee a little bit. Monday night, 2 of the worst Monday night games ever. Vikings, Bears. the Bears are pretty awful, and the Vikings didn't look great either, to be honest with you.
No.
When we were watching. And then the Falcons, Raiders. Falcons 15-9. Not a good performance by Kirk, and he's benched for Michael Penix Jr.
Well, here's the thing. He's guaranteed $65 million more.
Jokes on them for having to pay him, but Cousins, he might be SOL.
Sucks, as knowing him and
he's a great
being
guy,
a Spartan and loving him, and I think he's an underrated performer. I think he gets a bad rap because things haven't necessarily gone his way in the playoff time, but it'll be interesting to see. Does Atlanta trade him and eat like half of that $65 million, and then the other team picks it up? Somebody that needs a bridge quarterback. That's going to draft him next year,
something like that,
or maybe even like the Colts.
Yeah,
a team that's on the cusp of being decent, but as a young guy, I don't know.
It'll be interesting to see what they do, what happens with him. I don't think he's completely healthy. I don't think he trusts that Achilles.
No, I mean he's out of the shotgun a lot, and anybody who knows Kirk Cousins knows that he's an under center. He's a Jared Goff type, right? Like he's a master of the play action. Like he's probably to Goff the second best play action quarterback in the NFL. And you can run a little bit out of the shotgun, but not really. Yeah. But they have to put him back there because he's not quite as mobile with that Achilles, and you get older and it takes longer to recover. So,
hearing that the Bears are going to try to get Mike Vrabel as their coach, I don't know how that will go with.
Stay away from Ben Johnson.
Yeah, well, that's good, but I don't know about that for them. Lions, obviously just. It wasn't their day. Scored a ton of points. Their defense it's just hurt, not great. It gets even more hurt. There's 22 guys on IR, for cripe's sake.
Yeah, they lose Davis to a broken jaw, and then they lose his backup to a leg injury like
gruesome.
Hutch had.
Yep, bad leg injury.
McNeil blows out his ACL. Montgomery tears his MCL. Played through it a little bit.
Well, I told you that he's getting a third opinion apparently.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know what that's all about. The offense, as long as the offense stays healthy, they can.
Ragnow has been kind of getting beat up lately. Like he's not beat up, injured, but not been playing as well.
The thing that's killed the Lions is the week 4 bye. If that bye was week 10 or 11, I think
that's why I think it's important for them to really try to get the
1 seed because they get a bye week.
Because they get a bye week. It just buys them time. They don't have to play outside at all. They wouldn't have to play outside really theoretically till Philly, but depending on how the last 3 weeks go.
Yeah.
But looking at the wild card real quick, it's super interesting because the AFC only has 6 of the 12 non-division leaders still alive. Baltimore, Denver, Chargers are all in. And then you got Indy, Miami, Cincinnati, all 6 and 8 that are still alive. If it ended today, NFC, Minnesota's 12-2, right there, obviously nipping at the heels of the Lions, but the Lions have the game in hand with a win over them in better division play. Packers are 10-4, pretty much a shoe-in as well. And then Washington's 9-5, but then you got Seattle right there at 8-6. You got Atlanta, Arizona 7-7. San Francisco's still alive. Dallas is still alive at 6-8. Even New Orleans is alive at 5-9 because of that conference or that division, but. So you have Atlanta, New Orleans are alive just because they're still in the fight with Tampa Bay for the AFC or NFC South. But it'll be interesting. Some things will change hands a little bit, and should be a really good playoff. That's for sure.
Yeah, I agree. All right, that is the NFL Week 15 review. Let's get to picks. Should we do the playoff ones last?
Yeah, and how do we? So far, we're 2-0.
3-0 now.
3-0, nice.
Yeah, the James Madison one. We're 3-0. And yeah, the LA Bowl tonight, UNLV, hosted by Gronk. Lovely. All right, let's finish these picks up. We go to the Isleta, New Mexico Bowl. Why is this thing? These are just all terrible.
See, this is why you want to keep these bowls. Go to my plan of a new Division I, which is the mid-level conferences and the FCS.
Yep.
And, geez, if you want to have a playoff for them, too, and then have bowls, go for it. But
we've got the TCU Horned Frogs playing against the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns. I'm going with the Horned Frogs in this one.
Louisiana, they had a pretty good season, didn't they? Michigan State was supposed to play them.
10-3. Yeah.
TCU, Louisiana. You're going who? TCU?
I'm going Horned Frogs.
I'm going to go Louisiana.
All right. Let's go to the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Iowa State.
Best mascot.
Iowa State versus
mascot.
Miami. Actually, a pretty good game here. I'm guessing Cam Ward's going to opt out. That's just a hunch of mine, so I'm going Iowa State.
That's so iffy because doesn't he have to opt out if he's going to opt out? Like if he doesn't, Miami probably wins. But I think Iowa State, frankly, is going to care more than they already had a record season for them with double digits. I think Iowa State wins regardless.
Go Cyclones. How about this one? The Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl presented by Gin and Juice by Dre and Snoop. That is awesome. It's on CW, even better.
Oh my god.
The Miami Redhawks and the Colorado State Rams. I'm going with the Rams here, baby.
Yeah, Rams.
All right. Rams for both of us. The Go Bowling Military Bowl. NC State, East Carolina. I'm going East Carolina.
Hauser as the quarterback, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to go NC State.
All right. We go to the Valero Alamo Bowl, a Big 12 matchup. BYU versus Colorado.
Which is super weird.
I'm going
They must not have played this year.
No, they did not. I'm going Colorado because everyone's playing. And
Yeah, I'll go with that
BYU's
too. I
gonna
think Dion kind of wants to prove a point that hey, my guys played and whatever. Which, as much as I might not necessarily like
admire
Dion,
that.
I admire that. I think that's great that he's making them do that.
The Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl, what we talked about earlier. Army, Louisiana Tech.
Army.
Go Black Knights. We go to the Trans-Perfect, not really, Music City Bowl. Iowa versus Missouri. This is a stinker. I'm going Missouri. Iowa does not have a quarterback that's worth a crap.
Yeah, Missouri.
It's only a 3-point spread, though, in Missouri's favor. Very odd. Over-under 40.5. Very low. I'd take the under in that one. We go to Tampa Bay, the ReliaQuest Bowl, Bama, Michigan, a rematch of the first day of the year in the playoff. Bama all the way.
Oh my gosh, Bama will crush them.
All the way. Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. Classic game. Louisville,
Love the Sun
Washington. I'm going with the Cardinals.
Louisville and Washington. I'm going to go with Washington.
All right. The Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. South Carolina, Illinois. I'm going with the Cockcaboose, South Carolina.
The Gamecocks are into that game.
Good team.
According to their
Good
coach.
team.
So.
Quarterback, Lenore Sellers, a really good player. The Kinders Texas Bowl, Baylor, LSU. That's not a bad matchup. Dave Aranda going against his former team. I'm going with the Tigers.
Yeah, definitely the Tags.
Okay, let's see. Moving on to January 2nd, the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl. Duke playing Ole Miss. That's was that his name? Cutcliffe, who used to coach at Ole Miss.
Yep.
OC, and now he was at Duke.
Yep.
I'm going
It's the
Ole
Cutcliffe
Miss.
Bowl. I'm going Ole Miss as well.
Yep. Old piss. All right, Friday the 3rd, the Serve Pro First Responder Bowl. The little in-state rivalry. North Texas Mean Green, Texas State Bobcats. I'm going Texas State. I like their coach, G.J. King.
I'll go North Texas just because they're the mean green.
Duke's Mayo Bowl, Minnesota, Virginia Tech. I'm going with the Gophers.
Yeah, Minnesota was pretty consistent this year.
7-5.
They lost some close games. Vatek was kind of up and down. I'll go Big Ten here. I'll go Minnesota.
This is a fun one then. Bahamas Bowl presented by Atlantis Resorts. Buffalo versus Liberty. I'm going Buffalo. The Bowls.
I'm gonna go Liberty. The Flames.
Liberty. And that's all of the regular bowls. We go to the college football playoff. Friday night. In-state rivals, the Indiana Hoosiers. Surprise.
When's the last time they played? Notre Dame plays
Going to Notre Dame.
Purdue a lot. They play Northwestern. They play Michigan. They play Michigan State. But I don't remember them playing Indiana.
I don't know. Temperatures. Friday, this is the weather. 34 degrees, 80% chance of snow. Thursday night, they're supposed to get snow and freezing rain, about an inch of snow. Friday, a little less than 1 inch of snow. Friday night, a low of 21 degrees. It is going to be frigid in South Bend.
Both northern teams, though.
Yeah,
So there's
it's gonna be
nobody
fun.
coming up from the south. What's the spread?
Well, let's see. I don't even know what the spread is.
I'll tell you what it is.
7.
7?
7 Notre Dame.
Respectable.
What do you think? I think Notre Dame's
Are we
going to get
going
it done.
straight up?
Yeah, we're going straight on this. I think Notre Dame's going to win. But I think it's going to be a good game. I do. I think Indiana's going to throw some punches early.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Notre Dame's defense is going to be too much for them in their run game, physicality. Notre Dame's going to move on.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Indiana. I think the odds makers know what they're talking about because a lot of people would, Indiana, they got blown up by Ohio State. They haven't played anybody else. I think they're going to acquit themselves well. It would not surprise me to see them upset Notre Dame. I don't think Notre Dame is unfathomable, unbeatable. It's not unfathomable that they would lose. But I'll say experience in the end, the defense in the end, Notre Dame ekes it out probably by around that touchdown margin.
Yeah, I can see that. We go to Happy Valley. Penn State, SMU, the 6 and 11, 8.5 is the spread. Penn State
goes down. Penn State is
70%
screwed.
chance of snow, 34 degrees. I'm sorry, 28 degrees and sunny. So it's snow Friday. That's going to be cold. I think Penn State wins. I think it's going to be a close game. I do. I like SMU's quarterback, Kevin Jennings, really nice player. But I just think them coming north, it's a tough environment. I think Penn State gets it done. James Franklin lives to see another year.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lower scoring game, honestly.
I do.
Although Penn State put up a ton of points against Oregon in the Big Ten Championship. Again, would not surprise me to see SMU win this game. I don't know that weather is honestly as much of a factor. I think the bigger factor is honestly if Alar gets hurt, Penn State is screwed.
Yeah. And they use Pribula
if he gets hurt,
wildcat.
He gets hurt and meaning he's out for the game hurt, not just playing gimpy, SMU's going to win. But I think he'll hold up and he played pretty well against Oregon. I think Penn State wins, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any stretch.
No, I don't either. We go to Austin, Tejas. Longhorns playing Clemson. Interesting game. 12 is the spread in this one. 63 degrees and sunny.
That seems high to me because
Yeah.
Clemson has played. They've had their moments and they got blown out by Georgia to start the season. Everybody thought, Clemson overrated, but they're a pretty decent team.
I don't know if Clemson wins this, but I think this is going to come down to the wire.
I think so.
I think so. The battle of Rick Barnes.
I don't think that Texas covers that 12 points.
I think Texas is
I think
going
they
to
win, but I don't think
because
they
of their
cover
defense,
that.
and I think Arch Manning is going to play a lot in this game.
Yeah, the Shades of Orange Bowl.
That's right. And last but certainly not least, we go to C-Bus. The Buckeyes
7-point favorite
hosting
there.
the Tennessee Vols, 2 blue bloods in college football, you could say. It's going to be a cold one. A high temperature of 30 degrees, 16 low on Saturday night. Friday, supposed to get wintry mix. Same Friday night. It's going to be slippery out there. Ohio State coming off a tough loss to Michigan. Tennessee kind of limped into the end of the year. I don't like either of these teams. I wish that it would end in a tie. I don't like watching either of these teams. They're not fun to watch. There's nothing aesthetically.
Here's the thing: is if Ohio State plays their game, they are fun to watch because their receivers are electric and they've got good running backs and they've got a good offense.
True.
But if they want to try to play in a phone booth and prove some point that they're more manly, like they tried against Michigan again and failed again, they're going to get beat. I think that they win. I think they have they have a statement to make, and I think that they win this game. And I honestly think this may be the least close of the 4 games.
Yeah, and I could also see them laying an egg. I don't know why. All right, let us know who you think's going to win these games. It should be exciting. First ever 12-team playoff. Whoop-de-doo. All right, let's finish off with a sprint. What are the thoughts on Ryder Cuppers being paid now? You see that?
They're officially getting paid?
Yeah.
That just totally blew that out of the water for me because you were playing for love of country or love of the EU, if you will. I just totally diminishes it. I think that's just another golf match. May as well have been like the made for TV match last night. I think you take away the patriotism. You take away the fervor and the fire. I think it's stupid. I think these guys make enough money. If they're not willing to just go play for a weekend for their country or for their, the European Union, then they shouldn't be playing in the Ryder Cup. I think that's a horrible idea.
Yeah, not great. Will an 18-game regular season for the NFL ruin the game? I'm saying yes. And I know they're going to do it because they're greedy assholes. I
honestly think they need to go back to 16.
There's so many injuries, the wear and tear.
Or if you're going to go to 18, they're going to have to go two
double
buys.
bye.
They're going to have to. And fine if you want to go within just 2 preseason games. Nobody plays in the preseason anyway. Or wipe the preseason altogether.
Right.
And just do like these scrimmages. You do the mini camp scrimmages where there's, full contact, obviously, because you still need to practice full contact. But if you're going to go to 18 games because you're greedy, then cut those and go to the double or maybe even a triple bye.
Yeah.
If you cut the preseason, you can do a triple bye.
Yeah.
Start in August. So what? So it's hot.
I don't know if you saw this, but Matt Ishbia, did you see his thing?
Yeah, about
$2
concessions.
Is he going to set a trend with concession prices?
Well, who started that first, though, was Atlanta.
True. They just had
stadium.
Market prices. It was just not
okay,
inflated.
there's just market, not inflated.
He's trying to do this,
yeah.
And you see that him and his brother are about to buy the Twins also.
Really?
Yep.
Dang, it must be nice to have that kind of money.
I think that he's going to set a trend in the next couple of years. I think concessions are ungodly expensive at a lot of arenas, ballparks.
Oh, yeah. I mean, even at Michigan State, like to get
for like a pizza,
it's okay,
like $10.
But just above average hot dog is like $6. A soda is like, if you want a soda and a hot dog, it's like $15.
Yeah,
like
ridiculous.
It's stupid.
Yeah,
I don't do it for that reason. So, I think that's brilliant because that's what it does is it draws families to the games. That's why the Grand Rapids Griffins, the Grand Rapids Gold, who wore the elf costumes or uniforms the other day, why the Whitecaps, why they do so well in this town, and we don't need a higher level than that because the stuff is family friendly.
Yeah, which leads into my question: with the city of Grand Rapids adding a next MLS kind of minor league team, do you think that Grand Rapids would take like a USFL team?
I think that'd be awesome.
I think it would be good.
I mean,
I can see it eventually happening.
I have to think about it, like who would compare minor leagues. But I think if Grand Rapids, if Grand Rapids wants to vie to be the minor league sports capital of the U.S., I think they can do it.
Yeah, because
they've got the fan base too.
I would go to it.
The Whitecaps do great. The Griffins do great. We've yet to go to a Gold game, but they're in Van Andel. They've got soccer. You got the Grand Rapids Rise. They were actually good last year. I mean, yeah. Hey, there's lots of entertainment options and it's reasonable.
Yeah, exactly. I think Grand Rapids could pull it off. I mean, they had the Rampage for a long time, and that was awesome.
Oh yeah,
really
Arena football was fun.
Arena football was very fun. Sad that went away. But yeah, that's the episode. Appreciate you guys listening. We'll most likely roll one out before Christmas next week, so we can say Merry Christmas and all that good stuff. But yeah, we appreciate you guys.
Chris,
have
thanks
fun
for
watching the games this week.
Thanks for the epic questions, Chris, and as always, Mitch-a-palooza too. Keep those coming. Anybody else who's got them, we always appreciate the fan interaction. Makes it that much more fun too, especially when you catch us off guard. All right, meantime, as Pat Williams once said, we all want character, but not the trials that produce it. You can't build character in a cocoon.